I just realized I left my hoop on my desk. Hold on, I've got everything else. Okay. We are going to back our hoops today. So I shared in my stories yesterday, but in case you didn't see, here's mine. I ended up using my box of thread scraps for my books. So they're a little bit darker than like the plants, which is fine. But anyways, there is our finished bookshop. Now, before you back your hoop, you're gonna want to erase your lines. So if you did something heat erasable, you can go over it with a hot blow dryer or an iron, whatever you have. Either way, just don't stop and set it in one spot, like keep it moving. If I use an iron, I like to put a piece of fabric in between my project and the iron, mostly because my iron is old and I always worry it's gonna leave like stains. But also just to kind of protect your stitches. You don't want the iron to like snag on something and pull one of your threads funny. So a blow dryer, I just like go over it with a hot blow dryer and just get rid of all those lines. If you use something permanent like pencil or pen, if you can still see lines, go over it again. So like if you're on like the edge of this pot here and you can still see those lines, then just do a straight stitch from the top to the bottom and cover it up. Or if you didn't go quite to the edge of your circle here, just add in, another stitch or two to kind of cover that up. If you did water soluble, hopefully you didn't watercolor and then do a water soluble marker. Because then it will wash away your watercoloring as well. So if you didn't watercolor and you use water soluble, just make sure your project is dry before you start backing it. All right, let's do it. So I have this whole box of funky fabrics just as like a hand-me-down. So I usually use crazy fabrics to back my projects. If I'm doing something crazy and bright like this, I'll usually put a piece of gray in the middle just so I can't see this through. I can't see the pattern through my fabric. Depending on the fabric that I use, sometimes I can see it more or less, but anyways. So what we're gonna do is I'm just gonna measure my backing fabric, it's about the same size as my other fabric. I am not one that's gonna cut straight. I don't need precise measurements, so I don't do that. But there is that, and then I'm gonna put gray in between this one because that is real bright. So I'm gonna look at this piece of fabric. I'm sure the people that sew are like, what are you even doing? It's just like cut all crazy. I'm not too worried about it. So I'll cut this about the same size. Now, if you want to be more precise with your cutting, you can do that. Don't let me stop you. Okay, so now we've got our backing fabric and our in-between fabric. Now, you don't have to put a fabric on the back if you don't want to. You can totally skip this part if you want to. If you don't have extra fabric or you don't want to use extra fabric, skip it. All right, so what I'm gonna do is now if you're not putting a backing fabric on, you don't need to take this out of the hoop unless you want to realign it somehow. But just hold on if you're not gonna put a fabric on the back. I have to loosen this. This is the best screwdriver. It came with our like smart thermometer in like the packaging. And it is the best. I've used it for years and years, and this just like comes out so I can do flathead or Phillips. And it like fits so perfectly in my hand. Anyways, it's the best. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna have our fabric. Make sure you keep your top at the top, your sides at the side. You don't want that to get off. Okay, so we're gonna do our inner hoop, our backing fabric, our middle fabric if you have that, and then we're gonna put this back on. Get that back centered on there. I might have to loosen it a little bit more. Hold on. It's like not loose enough for all that fabric. It's still, goodness, that is tight. All right, loosen this a little bit more. I feel like it's just like pulling everything funny. So make sure your hoop is centered, or your hardware is centered at the top. And then we're just gonna pull that nice and snug. So I usually work in layers. I'll do my backing fabric first and just go around and pull this. I'm holding on to the front and the back, the hoop, and then pulling that fabric so it's nice and snug. I don't want that to be all rippled in the back. You could probably do this with all three at the same time, but I feel like then I'm like going back and forth, checking the back, checking the front. This just feels a little bit easier to me. And then I'll go ahead and do it to the same, to the middle one. Just make sure it's pulled tight. You don't want that causing any ripples. Oh, see, there's a ripple right there. Okay, and then we're gonna go to the front. So right now you can still see there's like a bubble in the fabric. So now we're gonna pull this tight. So just like we did when we put it in our hoop to begin with, before we started stitching. So we're gonna tighten it, and then I'll pull the fabric tight one more time. Whoa. All right. Okay. So we're nice and snug in there again. Now if you're not doing a backing fabric, this is where you come in. I'm going to cut my backing fabric down to the hoop. All the way down to the hoop. So I just make sure you keep your front fabric out of the way. You don't want to cut a hole in that. And I just cut the middle fabric and the backing fabric. Now, if you don't like this way of backing, there is so many other ways to back a hoop. I don't like getting out a bunch of extra stuff. I don't get out an iron. I don't get out hot glue, none of that. So if you don't like this way, feel free to back another way. All right, and then I like to keep about an inch of fabric because we're gonna tie it closed. So I'm just gonna go and cut this so that there's about an inch. These scissors have about here, they have like a notch. Somebody used them on something else. So they don't cut very well anymore. That's why mothers get angry about people using their fabric scissors, because because then you have to just do all these weird little tiny cuts or else it catches. Okay. Garbage. All right, now we have our hoop ready to close. So I like to just do a running stitch. So what I do is I just use some thread from the project, whatever color I have kind of a lot of or that I just feel like goes well. And then I just like loosely measure it around the outer ring of the hoop. And then we'll do a running stitch. So I like to tie a pretty long tail because then I can grab onto it when I pull it closed. So my knot is here and I still have like all of this space that I can kind of grab at it. So what we're gonna do is come up from the back about where the hardware is. And then we're just gonna do a running stitch. So we're gonna go just up and down like that. I usually do 2 stitches at a time, but you could just do 1 at a time if you need to. So I'll go up, down, and then pull it. And I do it about 2/3 of the way in. So it's not too close to the edge that it'll rip out, but it's not so close to the center that this won't be held down tight. So about 2/3 of the way. Probably should have done this with purple. It would have matched a little bit better because the fabric is orange and I'm using yellow, which is fine. It's not a big deal. Nobody's really looking at the back, right? That's why if you're not using a backing fabric, you can still use this method and then your back will just be open. Plenty of people do that and it's not a big deal. Especially on like commission pieces, I think that this looks a little bit more professional than just leaving the back open. Other people use like felt. Some people use like cardstock and glue that down or cut their edge, like cut it in like notches and then like glue it down like this. I don't like to do glue. I don't like it to be like a permanent, because what if I've had plenty of times that I've like finished a hoop and I'm taking pictures of it and I'm like, oh my gosh, I forgot something. And so I have to take it out and fix something. Or, you know, a little kid grabs it and, you know, messes up one of the stitches and then you have to take something out and fix it. Or I don't know. I don't like it to be like a permanent backing. So, whoops. I like this because you can easily just cut out the running stitch and take off your backing fabric, and then you still have this edge that you can easily take it in and out of the hoop if you need to. I don't know. I just like that little bit of reassurance if I need it. Okay, so once we get to the end, we're gonna end going down so that both of our stitches, both of our ends are underneath. Take your needle off and then we're gonna pull this closed. So I usually pull from both sides. So I pull about halfway and then I pull this one about halfway so it's nice and tight. Look how cute it looks. All right, and then we're just gonna do a double knot. So I usually pull this tight and then I have one of my kids hold it if, well, I used to, now I can do it on my own, but I hold on to this and then I do a double knot. You're watching me and now I'm not gonna be able to do it. Okay. And then that's it. Now, I forgot to mention, use 6 strands or 12. Like use 6 and double it over, or use 6, because if you have like 2 or 3 strands, when you pull it tight, you'll break your threads and then you'll have to re-stitch that entire thing. So anyways, look how cute it is. This probably could have been a little bit shorter, but anyways. And then we're done. So cute. Okay. As soon as you get yours finished, send me a photo. I want to see it. And thanks for joining in. I will see you next time.